Florida and Auburn, who have played this year. They played in Auburn. Florida won that game by 9. It was a game where Auburn jumped out to a big lead, but by the end of the first half, Florida had a big lead, and then Florida rode it on to a win. But these two teams, we were just talking about Duke with all the different ways they can beat you. Both of these teams have many, many different ways to beat you. We talked about Walter Clayton Jr. earlier in the show. Walter Clayton Jr., Florida's point guard, just, cojones the size of the entire city of San Antonio. That the step back, it wasn't even a step back. It was a dribble all the way out, step back 3 that probably won them the game against Texas Tech. Then Auburn, their best player is Janai Broome, who's kind of a classic back to the basket post player. Ari, I screamed when I saw the replay of Janai Broome's injury on Sunday.
Yeah.
I thought he had dislocated his elbow. I thought he was done. I was like, okay, well, there's not much time left, so Auburn may be able to win this game, but if they have to play Florida without Janai Broome, they're done. And then Janai Broome is back in the game with 6 minutes to go.
Shooting free throws to ice the game.
Happy to see him back.
Yeah, so I did the elevator challenge this week, and we've talked about the elevator challenge, but I was sending you and River my plays over the weekend, and the kid got hot, okay? He got hot. Starting with the Florida money line in the middle of the second half for 3-1. And then we compound it with Duke in the under, and then yesterday morning I was right on the first game. So I rolled all of that into Michigan State plus 5.5 last night. And I got to tell you, that was painful because I'm back to 0. And I really felt like Michigan State had the back door open the entire second half and missed every single big 3 that could have swung the game. Like every time they had an open look when they were down 9 or down 7 and they shot a 3.
Auburn never really let them back.
Never.
And you thought, because Michigan State would get it to about 9, but Auburn would never let them back in. And part of it, like when Janai Broome comes in and does the Willis Reed thing, that just pumped everybody up. But I thought Todd Pettiford played really well this weekend. Like he's kind of the spark, the one that if he just goes off, I'm not sure how Auburn loses. And you go back to the first Florida Auburn game, like Pettiford had a pretty good game. Broome had a good game. I want to say he had 19 and 11 in that game. Chad Baker-Mazara had a decent game. It wasn't like Auburn did anything wrong there. Florida just hit a lot. I believe they hit 13 threes in that game. And so I think that's where if they can contest some Florida shots, make it where Florida's missing from the outside, force Florida to run the offense inside because Auburn is bigger inside. So that, your Alex Condons, your Ruben Chinaloo, who does a lot of the dirty work for Florida, but gets a lot of kind of cleanup baskets. You take those away, I think Auburn's got a really good chance in this game.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that the thing that is starting to become apparent as this tournament goes on are the teams that are very physical and, in shape are the ones that are advancing here. And I thought that Texas Tech against Florida was very much controlling the game physically. And then Florida got really hot at the end. And what was it? Like a 15-2 run or something to close the game out, something crazy like that. Auburn, I thought, beat the crap out of Michigan State from a physical standpoint. They were the first to the loose balls,
which is hard to do against a Tom Izzo team. And they did. Dylan Cardwell did a really good job. He's their big post guy, 6'11", 255. And also, I don't know this is where Duke, I think, runs into some the issues Duke might run into because we talk about Houston being old as hell, but Auburn's old as hell too.
Yeah,
Florida's pretty old as well. But Auburn's really old.
But it's the coaches that have done a really good job of getting their ultra-talented rosters to play like they're the underdog. And I know, and I'm not talking about like psychoanalysis, like pre-game, who's the underdog coach speak. I'm talking about playing like if you don't get that loose ball, you're going to lose. And there are not a lot of teams that do that. And, Texas Tech, as we know, missed a lot of the front ends of the one-on-ones that cost them the game. I think they could have won had they made some of those free throws. And, somebody in the chat here correcting me, it was an 18-4 run in 3 minutes. Like Florida just exploded offensively. And sometimes that happens.
But you like miss those front end to 1-on-1s. And that, I mean, that's the whole point of committing those fouls
Sure,
7, 8, and
sure.
9. Like, you want them to miss the front end of the 1-on-1, so you're stealing possessions.
But I'm actually kind of surprised to see Auburn a dog here. And I know that Florida came into this as we're talking about two of the best teams in the sport coming into this.
Yeah.
But from a physicality standpoint, I was not impressed with Florida for the first 35 minutes of that game. And again, maybe I'm just like too much into the bet and not so much into the game. But like, I was watching it and I was just like, how is Florida getting manhandled by Tech? And Texas is a really good team too. Like, I know they were a lowly 3 seed, but like, you know,
right. They were 3 seed in the Big 12. They were a Big 12 team that had beaten Houston, which is
no, they're a great
something.
team too.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the thing too. It's not like there were any 11 seeds that were pushing these teams around. Everybody in the tournament, the last weekend was a really, really good basketball team. But I was just so much more impressed with Auburn's physicality over the weekend. And now I think River pointed out too that Auburn had a really good presence. It'll be interesting to see how San Antonio shakes out. But you have
Auburn's showing out in San Antonio. Now, and look, where I live, I know some people who are headed that way to root for Florida. But my guess is Auburn will be the loudest, most passionate group there. Houston will too. I mean, because they're just a short drive away. But in this game, I would think that the Auburn crowd will probably be a little bit bigger. If you want to go to San Antonio, if your team's in the Final Four, or you just want to see some great basketball, because this all chalk Final Four thing, as Ari pointed out, is going to be high level, high quality games. So if you want to go to San Antonio, get yourself on the Game Time app, download it, hit that GT Picks feature to get the best deals relative to the market. Listen, the good seats, they're not cheap because these are good games. So a session on Saturday, you're talking about maybe $500 for a sideline view type seat, but you're going to see some.
You get 2 games though.
Action.
You get 2 games.
You do. Yes.
I want to go. Man. I want to go.
Well, maybe. But look, we'll hit the game. We can hit the Game Time app after our show.
Yeah,
and
just see what it is. Yeah.
Now, I've already used my code. I used my code when we bought Taylor Swift tickets, but because you can only do it on your first purchase. But if you have not made your first purchase, or if Producer River hasn't made his first purchase, you have. Producer River, we'll make sure. He may have done it too.
Can I use Producer Rivers?
Yeah. Use the code STAPLES for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. But that's best deal going. And Game Time will make sure you do get the best deal. Hit that GT Picks button as you look at your tickets, and you will find the best deal. And it doesn't have to be the Final Four. It could be a comedy show. Like, Ari saw David Spade and Shane Gillis not long ago. Like,
I did.
Whoever you want to see. When I went to San Antonio to look up Final Four tickets, there's a Jelly Roll show coming to San Antonio. Like, I would love to see Jelly Roll in concert. It'd be incredible.
Does he have more than that one song? Does he like have a good
Jelly Roll?
Yeah.
Dude, he's got like 30 bangers.
Oh, 30.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Download the Game Time app. Use the code STAPLES when you go see Jelly Roll or the Final Four. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
While I was watching the Florida Tech game, it felt like every time Tech scored, the stadium exploded, and every time Florida scored, it wasn't nearly as loud. And I was like, "Wow, Texas Tech is like outdoing Florida."
And this is San Francisco. That was a tough trip for both schools. Yeah.
But then when Florida went on their run, Florida fans went insanely loud. So maybe it was hard to tell like how the fan, but like which of these teams, because Florida has a larger fan base than Auburn, right?
It's a bigger school.
Sized.
Yeah, it's a bigger school. So, but I will say there's so many variables with Florida and Auburn because they have so many different ways to beat you. Mudkip plays in the chat. He says Florida hasn't had a complete game this tournament, and they're still winning. They beat Auburn without Elijah Martin, which is true. Just need Condon to play better, and Condon and Broom are both injured. That's also true. Alex Condon, who's Florida's most important post player. He defensively, he's the straw that stirs the drink for them, but they also run a lot of their offense through him. He's really important. He rolled his ankle a couple of games ago, but I think he looked okay in the Elite Eight game. And then Broom, obviously the elbow thing, and Broom also has an ankle. So I think it's going to be big, but there are guys who are sort of X factors in here. I mentioned Tahad Pettiford before. He's the lefty freshman guard for Auburn, who's just, when he goes off, he goes off. And then Thomas Houck for Florida, he's a big, but he can step out and shoot the three. he's not necessarily your big bruiser inside. He's going to play a little more finesse game as a 6'9" guy, but he's a really interesting too. He's at Florida because he was a giant Tim Tebow fan growing up in Pennsylvania. It was like the second Florida offered, he was on it. He's like, no, Tim Tebow is my favorite athlete of all time. And which is wild to think that like a basketball player from Pennsylvania is there because of Tim Tebow. But there you go. Both teams have these X factor guys, and you don't know which one of them is going to go off. I think we can feel safe that Walter Clayton Jr. is going to do some really good stuff for Florida, and that Janai Broome is going to be a load inside that Florida's going to have to deal with for Auburn.
If Broome's excuse me, elbow was dislocated, would he have been able to come back in the game? Or
No,
is the fact that he came back in the game?
Hyperextended it. I mean, you saw it hyperextend. I'm not a doctor, but you saw that. But no, he's like and he said he's going to be able to play. And you saw him hit threes. You saw him get rebounds after the injury. It looked scary, but I guess he got lucky in that, in that situation where he did not get hurt so bad that he couldn't keep playing. But
can I have a minor criticism of Florida's basketball uniforms?
By all means.
They're all perfect, but drop the F on the shorts and put the Gator on it. Like, what are we doing? That's my design take for the day. Like, is there a reason why they have the F on there?
I'm with you because it's the newer F. It's the italicized F, and the top kind of harkens back. Well, no, it's the block F. No, they put the block F on there because these are like Vernon Maxwell era throwbacks, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with repping Vernon Maxwell and Dwayne Shinsis and all those guys.
We don't do a lot of logo talks, but like Florida has one of the best logos in college athletics, right?
I like the block F better than the italicized F. Big fan of the block F. Used to be the 50-yard line logo, and I want that back.
Neither of them can hold a candle to the Gator. To me, that's a great logo.
It's a great logo, and native species, like they're all over town. So
yeah, and you want
Auburn's pretty classic.
Game,
Auburn's pretty classic as well. I love the Auburn call God thing. I love that they got a hand signal and everything. Like, I'm so excited about this game. I think these two teams they're both great. They can both win the national title under the right circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard game to pick.
I'm going to go Auburn here just from a physicality standpoint. Like I was really impressed with how they played against Michigan State. And Michigan State, is a team that, they have a coach that has that team ready. I mean, say what you want about Tom Izzo. That guy has his team ready for the tournament games every single year, no matter how they did. And I thought Auburn outclassed them. Bruce Pearl's a more experienced coach, somebody who's been on this stage before. Like, I think Auburn's going to get it done.
So basically, we got to pick them here. It's 2.5 point spread. At the risk of being called a homer, give me the Gators.
Homer.
Because I don't think that physicality is going to make as big of a difference as you think, because they've seen this before. They've seen this level of physicality. They've played Tennessee 3 times. Like, they know how it feels to play against a very physical team. So I don't think that will be their downfall. If Florida loses because shots aren't going down, that's really it. So yeah, you got the Tigers. Give me the Gators.
And by the way,
we
did official picks, and I think I'm 1-0. So like, don't let the kid get hot is all I'm going to say. And if you don't know what the elevator challenge is, because I saw some people, you start with a bet, then if you win, you take your winnings and you double your bet until you get to like 4 or 5 floors up, and then you can cash out. And that's what I was trying to do over the weekend. I got to floor 4, and I was going to pay for a quarter of my car.
Michigan State couldn't hit the backdoor cover on you.
Yeah, and Michigan State lost by the hook. So, it happens, and that's part of the way it goes. But you know what? If we're going into baseball season, okay, and like I like baseball season, I've got a fantasy team. There is no game more boring to bet on. I'll do it. I'm going to do it.
If I'm not
wrong, but like NCAA tournament basketball might be the most fun sport. So you got to go big. We only have 3 games left, and I'm super excited to get down there. And Andy, I don't know what's going on with you, because you don't like to bet like me, but you got to throw some shekels out there if we're gonna be watching these games together on Saturday. So
we could probably pull that off.
I'll put it in for you, but I want you to put in enough money where you're sweating. I don't want you to be like, I don't care. I want you to sweat with me. I was sweating women's games yesterday.
50 cents. There's my unit right there. I'm just gonna throw quarters at Ari the entire
I want
night.
you to bet enough where your wife would be disappointed if you lost.
My wife's always disappointed in me, so this
So
is
50
nothing
cents.
new.
Yeah.